Carroll, bringing it forward. Thompson's making the run. Carroll hangs on to it though. Still Davy Carroll. Could go all the way here. Oh, what a goal!
I don't know what it is that makes me love you so. I only know I never wanna let you go. 'Cause you started something, you see, that ever since we met you had a hold on me. It happens to be true. I only wanna be with you.
Good evening and welcome to this week's Ringing the Blues with me, Phil Catchpole, live from the studios of Wycombe Sound, joined live this evening by Luke Leahy. Luke, good evening, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Did you enjoy training today?
It was a cold one.
Very cold, wasn't it?
It was.
Not at Marlow Road today?
No, we were at Burnham today, which is a 3G pitch, just because obviously the ground at the training ground is quite hard. So yeah, we trained at Burnham today.
All weather surfaces. Right, we'll be asking more questions to Luke. We've got a section called Ask Luke. It does exactly what it says in the tin. Get your questions into Luke Leahy. You can join us live on the YouTube channel. You can put your questions in the comment section, Instagram, the WhatsApp of Wycombe Sound, Twitter, or just come and shout outside the bus station in High Wycombe. We'll hear the question and put it to Luke. If it's a good one, we'll make him answer it. We've also got Chris Spratt, the Wycombe Wanderers fan, on Till Death Us Do Parts. That's a good one this week as well. They're always good, but this one is especially good because he's the same age as me. But as it's so cold, let's warm things up a bit by heading to Mexico City for the full Liga Juan results with Uri.
We are ringing the blues from Mexico City. It's me, Uri, and here are the results for League One. Barnsley 2, Bristol Rovers 1, Blackpool 2, Exeter City 0, Cambridge United 2, Fleetwood Town 1, Carlisle United 1, Oxford United 3, Charlton Athletic 1, Peterborough United 2, Northampton Town 1, Wigan Athletic 1, Portsmouth 0, Leyton Orient 3, Shrewsbury Town 0, Stevenage 1, Wycombe Wanderers 1, Lincoln City 1. So, Chairboys Spanish this week, conceding too many late goals. Okay, word by word. Too many. Demasiado. Too many. Demasiado. De más. Too many. Late. Tardío. Tarde. Goals. Goals. Oh, conceding. To concede. From the Latin con, completely, and cedere, to yield. So, to yield completely. And it's the same word in Spanish, conceder. So, conceding too many late goals translates as conceder demasiados goles tardíos. Pay attention, Wycombe Wanderers, because on those last minutes, the law of it ain't over till it's over is the one that prevails. Back to England with my amigo Filiberto Cachapollos. Until next week, adios.
Muchas gracias, Uri. Latin this week as well. So if you went to Royal Grammar School, you already knew that, obviously. But for us mere mortals, we're always learning here on Ringing the Blues. Right, Wycombe Wanderers were at Adams Park on Saturday. They were taking on the Imps, and here's what happened. Gets Wycombe on their way now. Sadlier bursting down that left-hand side. Sorensen comes across, but Sadlier's done it well. Skipped away from a few. Little 1-2 with Dale Taylor. Gets it stuck under his feet a bit, but Wycombe have got a decent platform now in the final third. McCleary on the right wing. Little step over, goes on the outside. Stands up the cross to the back post. Bucks gets up, heads it down, and the keeper saves. Great stuff from Wycombe Wanderers. Bremer goes to the back post. Vokes heads it into the 6-yarder. Taylor has scored! Goal's been given. I think it was handled on the line, but the referee's given it. And Dale Taylor is celebrating. There was a handball on the line. That was signalled by the assistant, but I think he also said it had crossed it. And Dale Taylor heads his 4th goal of the season. Vokes with the assist, and that is a really well-worked goal from Wycombe Wanderers. It's away from Taylor, but not away from Leahy. Leahy lays it into his good friend Dale Taylor, who puts it over the top to Vokes, who controls. Helps it onto Sadley on the left-hand side. Sadley cuts onto his right, goes for goal! Just over the top. Bursts forwards into the Wycombe half, threads it through looking for Joe Taylor. Tapazoli defends, then Wheeler gets through the 50-50 and brings it forwards. Wheeler over the top for Sadlier. It bounces on the edge of the area. Sadlier nods it down to Vokes. Can he get there? Oh, and the two Lincoln players combine to poke it behind Rowan and Mitchell. Corner comes in. It's a better delivery this time. Ball in there and it goes over the bar. Vokes and Lowe and Tapazoli all combining, I think. 71 on the clock, 1-0 to the Chairboys. Corner's drifted in and it's headed away, and there it's been given as a free kick by the referee. The ball was flicked on from the corner, a crowd of players involved, and it hit the back of the net, and the assistant has seen something and the referee has given a free kick. I've been saying all game what a good referee the performance this has been. Sadly, toying with Sorensen, left-footed cross comes and it's a good one. Vokes! Diving header over the bar. That was a glorious chance. And Vokes has his head in his hands there. He's got away from the incredibly attentive centre-backs for a split second, and his diving header over the bar after some superb wing play from Sadlier. Free kick by the goalkeeper on the halfway line. Chips it long. Tapazoli with a big header. Back in by Irahan. Flicked on again by Lincoln. It's in the edge of the 6-yard area. Sorensen goes wide. Cuts it back. Drops in. And it's there! Lincoln have equalised with possibly the last kick of the game. Leahy's booked in the aftermath. It's come in the 97th minute. Wycombe Wanderers absolutely deflated out on the pitch. And the referee now blows his whistle. It's finished here at 1-1. Gaffer, we equalised at Derby in the 97th minute. It felt like a win. How does that feel after conceding in the 98th minute here?
Yeah, it feels really disappointing. Late goals have hurt us this season. There's no getting away from that fact. The Port Vale goal that was smash and grab, I felt like today actually they were building a bit of momentum, but we'd seen it out. I thought the boys defended the goal extremely well. So yeah, it's been, if you look at our points total and how the late goals have affected that, the foul at Portsmouth, foul at Barnsley, the goal against Port Vale, the goal here today, it really affected our points total, and we've been in winning positions but not seeing it over the line. So it's extremely frustrating, extremely disappointing because, we should see that game up.
What's the cause of these late goals? Is there anything sort of psychological or anything that needs investigating?
Yeah, obviously we look into everything, and we have to make sure we get better at what we're doing. We have to improve in that aspect because we've been in so many good positions this season and should see those games out and take the points that the boys deserve. So, we'll look into everything. There's no getting away from the stats in terms of when we've conceded our goals. We have to make sure we correct that because, like I say, we should be in here talking about another win. The Port Vale game was exactly the same, but we're not. We're talking about another draw, which is extremely disappointing.
It's both ends of the pitch as well because there were decent chances before in that second half as well to get the game away from our opponents today. Yeah,
I haven't actually looked at the numbers today. We had 60 shots in the three previous games. We've created numerous opportunities again today. So I guess that's always the risk, isn't it? If you don't kill the game off at 2 and 3-0, that at 1-0, it's always down to a scrappy moment at the end. There's obviously plenty that sort of plays into that, but we have to make sure that we kill off our opposition when we have the opportunities, and if we don't, then you always run the risk of there being a scrappy moment like that at the end, albeit far above and away the injury time that was added on.
A league debut for Richard Kone and a lovely reception from the fans when he came on.
Yeah, I just felt like we needed a little bit more energy on the pitch at that point. Lincoln were gathering a little bit of momentum, so Richard came on. It was obviously a lovely welcome. He's going to be well thought of around here because, he's a boy with loads of potential, and the fans will get behind him, which is great. So it was lovely to get him on the pitch. Just disappointed that he didn't get to spend that moment with a winning performance.
And Gideon Kadua added into the squad today as well, added in this window. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Gideon's a good player, real good player. In all our analysis of West Ham before the game on Tuesday night, he kept popping up as a player of real good potential. Obviously, we've got strong relations with West Ham due to Tomo's relationships there and with our work with Freddie already. So, we felt it was right to wait until after the game on Tuesday evening, have a real live audition against our boys, which he came through with flying colours. So once we had that, we spoke to West Ham after the game and executed the move, which happened really, really quickly. So thank you to them. It's been a bit of a whirlwind 48 hours for Gideon. So he's going to play a big part in here. We're really happy to have him here.
And back to today's game, do you feel the performances are still there, the momentum going in the right direction? It's just very fine margins at the minute?
Absolutely, yeah. We should see the game out against Port Vale, win that. We should see the game out today. I'm not quite sure where. I was told there was 6 minutes of added time, which was then extended to 96:30. The foul gets given on 96:27, and then they've added more time onto that, which I'm not sure where. So, little moments are going against us, but in ourselves, we have to look at ourselves and make sure we see the game out. That's what it's about. So, the momentum's building. A good win on Tuesday. Good performance at Burton last week. We should have, put our chance away and win that game. So, we need to be more clinical at one end and see the game out when we need to at the other. That's the most important place is the two boxes.
The gaffer there speaking to me right after the game finished at Adams Park on Saturday. Dale Taylor scored. Dale, talk us through the goal.
Mate, just seen Vokesy head it back and I've headed it in, mate. And, the boy trying to handball it, but, thankfully the goal got given and I'm happy.
Let's just be thankful that Max Strickland saved a penalty, otherwise we did the full. Luke, we started off the interview referencing the 97th minute equaliser at Derby. You scored that penalty that day. What's it like being on the flip side? Because I remember how buoyant you were at Pride Park. What's the feeling like when it happens to you?
Yeah, Saturday felt like a defeat, and I remember saying to you after that Derby game, it was like, it felt like we won the game, and it was for Derby, it felt like they lost, but both teams got a point, obviously, and then it was like that Saturday we felt like we'd lost the game, and that's football. I think we've had meeting today on how we can be better in them instances and them situations in the game, and hopefully it doesn't happen too many times from now until the end of the season. It's
happened a few times. The Port Vale game, the gaffer reference there as well. I'm sure the fans do this. I do it. Do the players do it? They look at the table and sort of add those points on, thinking, had we just held on, we'd be in ninth or somewhere.
I don't think players do it as much as fans, but I know what you mean. But I just think, it's football. We need to stay switched on until whatever minutes added on, because there's especially this season, it's like there's 8-9 minutes being added on, whereas previous seasons 6 was probably the highest it would get added on. So we need to be concentrated until that final whistle, and hopefully speaking about it today and bringing a light to it to each individual is we'll be concrete in our heads, and we can have less of them things.
I think I drive everybody mad on the commentary because I always say it's a minimum of 6 minutes or however many minutes, because the referee will then add time on that's accrued during that period.
Yeah.
So it could be that, I saw the first tweet I saw after the game was like, how can they score in the 98th minute when only 96 minutes were meant to be played? There's no sort of, it's not like rugby where a hooter goes off, it is a minimum. So I guess it is literally the old adage, play to the whistle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is that, but I don't know how, I still don't understand how we got to them. What was it, the 90s, 97-30? I think, and they took 30 seconds to take their free kick as well, because I remember their left back was going to take it and then the goalkeepers pushed him forward, so there was seconds added on there, and then we get the first contact with the header. He could blow it then, but yeah, listen, it's gone now. It's happened, and hopefully we can learn from it instead of it happening again.
Right, we got Ask Luke coming up very shortly. Get your questions coming in. There's stuff coming through now on the YouTube comment section. Yes, we're on YouTube. You can also find us on the Wycombe Sound socials and also on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter as well, and we can get the questions in for Luke for the middle section of the show, which we've sort of cryptically called Ask Luke. That's simply what it is. And then you can get your questions in to Luke Leahy. But we've got to get those away fans in. They were there on Saturday in good numbers. And here's what they had to think on that 1-1 draw at Adams Park. It's the opposition view. Port Mac Imp.
Sometimes you do get what you deserve. The Imps really took that game to Wycombe in the second half. It was a mystery why the first Imps goal were disallowed, but the team responded well and found a way to get back in it. The substitutions were positive from Scrubella, and the team forced Wycombe to hang on with delaying tactics that fortunately failed.
Imps 2018.
To start off with, a negative. That were 60 minutes of idiotic crap. Why the hell did we rock up to Wycombe with a 5'8" striker and decide to play long ball? The fans, though, were a positive. That was absolutely great backing from us. When the frustrations came, it was understandable, but Bishop and Hackett came on and changed the game. Jackson and Mitchell also held up Vokes fantastically well. I've no issue with physicality when both parties are doing it, and I think the ref handled that well.
Tricky Imp.
Our goal from the corner was chalked off because Taylor was on the goal line and was offside, and was crucially deemed to be interfering with play. Nevertheless, you go to places like Wycombe and you take a point. The first 65-70 minutes were turgid, but there's no doubt we were much better than them in the final 20.
Lep.
I don't think our goal should have been disallowed. I watched it back and also saw it in person. Joe makes no contact with the ball and doesn't obstruct their keeper, so surely the goal should have stood.
Sedgley Imp.
We took our time getting into that game today, but certainly deserved something out of it with that late leveller. It's quite ironic that it came in the time added on to the original added on time due to Wycombe trying to waste even more time on a non-existent injury.
Clanfoot Imp.
I thought we were awful in the first half. Started with the wrong team and wrong formation. I couldn't understand why we were banging long balls up to a small player and we created very little, apart from Duffy's excellent effort that hit the post. The game changed after both teams' substitutions, and if we had started as we finished, we'd have been out of sight at Wycombe, who were about as average as you could get in this division.
Roy A.R.
Wycombe got what they deserved there. They shut up shop, oofed everything clear and blatantly time wasted for the last 20 minutes. Only the woodwork, a great save from their keeper and a disallowed goal stopped it from being an easy win.
Donny Imp.
Oh dear. All those dark arts, like falling over as if they'd been shot, worked against Wycombe in the end then.
Domsky 2017.
Nasty place to go, Wycombe. And the sooner they're demoted, the better. We played through the thirds in the last 20 minutes with a structural change, and woeful Wycombe had no answers. Shame about the goal that was somehow disallowed. I believe our coaching staff will implement entertaining change in the long term.
Wellington Imp.
A fair result in the end. Wycombe may say there was too much added time, but this was totally due to their time wasting. And well done to the ref for enforcing the additional minutes.
online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound. Love WhatsApp. Love Wycombe Sound. Use WhatsApp to message us. Just send your message to 01494 449900. Go on, give it a try.
I'd like to know, are you really ready for some super dynamite soul?
Well, are you? Every Tuesday and Saturday, we dig into the funk and soul archive to find the finest disco, soul, funk and jazz funk tunes and select some new independent releases to bring you 2 hours of sunshine-infused music that you probably didn't know you loved. So let in the sunshine, Tuesday nights from 10, remixed for Saturdays at 6.
The Funk and Soul Archive on Wycombe Sound. This is Wycombe Sound.
Welcome back to Ringing the Blues, live from Wycombe Sound with me, Phil Catchpole, and live studio guest Luke Leahy. Luke, you've got your own sound bed, you're very much part of the furniture here, and we're into the section we like to call Ask Luke.
Nice.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Ready to
Right, we'll go straight to the fan questions because they're better than mine, to be honest. Joe, what made you join Wycombe Wanderers?
In the summer, just playing against them, I could tell there was a real good group there. I knew a few players before, and I was ready for a change. I'd done very well at Shrewsbury. I was captain, but I felt like I'd done my best football there, and it probably wasn't going to be the same as it was than previous years. So spoke to the manager, spoke to a few of the players, and just sold on me straight away. And thankfully, I made the decision because it's been a great decision.
The quality of the media output from the club as well must have had a big impact on that decision. You thought, I could definitely improve what they do.
Yeah,
on and off.
I can add to that.
Are you better at free kicks than Joe Jacobson, says Al? That's a high bar.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he still giving you tips?
Not really, because then I'll be better than him. No, I think although we're both left-footed and we like corners and free kicks, we are very different technically. I remember when I was on the bench Tuesday night against West Ham, and he was taking his corners and he was like going for goal. I'm like how does he do that? Whereas I'm just worried about me beating the first man. So watching him a few more times, hopefully I can get his left foot.
He's very nonchalant about it. I've asked him many times how he delivers those corners, those in-swinging corners. And he just seems to shrug and say, look, it's just, it is what it is. You just whack them in there.
Yeah.
And,
hopefully a few more years when you ask me that question, I can just shrug and go, what do you mean? It's easy.
Josh says, favourite goal of the season? I'm presuming he means yours. You could be very selfless here and suggest a teammate.
I'll do both.
Go on then.
So... teammate, I'd go Richard Keogh against Northampton.
What a screamer that was.
What an unbelievable goal. I can't believe he took off him. Jesus Christ. Do you know what I really like? I liked Dale Taylor's second one against Fleetwood. Wasn't like the best goal in terms of outrageous strike or anything, but just the build-up, Potsy's no-look pass to Dale, which he slotted away. So I'd go, that's probably my favourite goal. But personally... Bolton one, or I think maybe I know it was a penalty, but the second one against Oxford was special. So in
front of the fans as well, right down that end of the pitch.
Yeah, I had it obviously 10 minutes before, and then I felt like the energy from the fans when we scored. So to get it twice in 10 minutes was special. Yeah, I'm
guessing it's easier to take a penalty with just some fence panels behind the goal.
No, because if you miss the target, it's hitting a car, isn't it? So, yeah.
We have another good question here. Jaden has said, if you could bring a teammate from a previous club to join Wycombe Wanderers, so one of your previous teammates at one of your other clubs, who would it be? That's a tough question.
Yeah,
that is a tough question.
Oh, wow. Do you know what? Put me on the spot there.
Okay, we'll come back to that one.
Yeah, come back to that one.
Michael Chevlane, he's in Denver. We've just looked up the time in Denver. It's lunchtime and it's very cold. And he says, how would you describe what makes Wycombe Wanderers different to other clubs? Because we always hear about the atmosphere and the chemistry between the players and the staff, etc. He says, how would you describe that to someone who hasn't sort of been privy to it?
I think from the first day I came in and the way I was welcomed by everyone, not just players but the staff and like you guys, it's just as, I know it sounds very cliche, but it's such a family environment and it makes you feel at ease straight away. And since I've signed, I've enjoyed like every minute of it, even the lows. This club treat the lows differently. Like that's how the biggest compliment. I hope that comes across as a compliment, because it's just like no one's sort of point the finger or anything like that. You just get on with it, and as long as everyone tries their best, I think that's all people can ask. And we've got a real group that does that, and hopefully the fans see that.
Dan Clark, he is the man that invented the question about the duck-sized bears. He's come up with an alternative here, saying you've been all over the pitch this season, but where do you feel the most comfortable?
Yeah, good question. I think I'm left back at the minute, so yeah. But if I had to, obviously, be in the gaffer's shoes for 1 minute, I think central midfield. I just think I enjoy it. I enjoy getting back the pitch. I enjoy them battles, them little niggly battles. Whereas at left back, it's like you're looking into it, going, "Oh, I wish I was involved in all of that." Whereas, so yeah, centre middle. I enjoyed left centre half when we were in a back three. I think. I actually think that's where I played my best football this season, left centre half of a back three. So, but yeah, just happy to be on the pitch. Listen, I don't really care where it is as long as I'm playing. That's all that matters.
Someone's here said that you're a future club captain as well. Would you fancy that role if it ever came your way?
If it did, yeah, I'd love it. It'd be a massive honour, but I think we've got a few before me: Scoey, Grimmer, obviously JJ. But yeah, if it was ever handed to me, it'd be an absolute honour.
We got a new signing announced today. Chem Campbell. He joined Wycombe this time last year from Wolves. He's been on loan at Charlton first half of this season, but he's been recalled, and now he's another Wycombe Wanderers player again, which is fantastic to have him back. Was he training today?
Yes, he was training today, and he looked good, looked sharp, and he's a winger, which in the formation we're playing now, we need a few more wingers, and he's direct. So really looking forward to seeing him play. Played him at table tennis today and beat him, so that's the main thing.
What would you have done if you had turned up and been really good at table tennis?
Yeah, he would have been banned. He would have been recalled.
What's your favourite ground to play at, other than Adams Park, obviously, and your least favourite?
Least favourite and best ground this season, or just in general?
I think in general.
Yeah, I'd go Sheffield Wednesday for my favourite ground.
Yeah, I've
had some good results there, and just the atmosphere. Even when we've conceded a goal and they sing that hi ho Sheffield Wednesday, it is special, and you don't get many of them atmospheres obviously in League One. So that was special. And worst ground. I'd go your typical Accrington Stanley, or never liked Rochdale for some reason. Never really liked Rochdale, so yeah.
I always thought Fleetwood, not because of the ground, but it's always so windy.
Yeah,
and there's no stands. So the wind must have it always has an impact on the game.
Yeah, I've had some good results at Fleetwood, so I'm sort of going off that as well.
You're good in the wind.
Yeah, there you go. Just play it up. The wind will sort it out. Yeah, so I'd say, but the best atmosphere for me has been Sheffield Wednesday recently.
We were talking before we were on air, obviously the hours of planning that goes into this show. We were talking about managers, because I was talking to you about the Troy Deeney clip, where he said that his players had been so bad he would rather have watched an episode of Antiques Roadshow, which I quite like. Antiques Roadshow. It's quite good. But it was that term, throwing your players under the bus. As a player, what would you be like if your manager came out afterwards in the press and was like, oh yeah, and said that about you or one of your teammates? How would you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'd feel about it, to be honest. I think there's so many different characters in the game now. I think managers probably have to be careful with who they're saying it about. I think there's some players that can deal with that, and probably the managers know the players better than anyone. And I think Troy Deeney probably thinks that Dabo can deal with it. I think because
that was the player in particular he singled out.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Frankie Dabo, and it's all over Twitter and everything. So I think he's come out and apologised that it come out like that, but he must have felt it because he said it in the press. So yeah, strange one. I think it's more the whole dressing room probably felt a little bit uncomfortable seeing it because that time for that incident it was Dabo, but I think on a player's mind now, if they have a bad game, they probably wait until 5:30, 6 o'clock for his interview to come out to see if he's slated them. So I think he's fresh in the job as well, isn't he? So
I was about to say that it's his first gig, and as a player, he was a fantastic striker, Troy Deeney, but he was never shy for an opinion or a comment as a player, was he?
Yeah, I think he's just got to take it into context. Like if he was when he was a player and a manager said that about him or a teammate, like he was captain at Watford as well, so I wonder how he would have took it if one of their 700 managers in his time, said it about one of his players. So, but yeah, he said it. He said it, and it's there to see. So, I'm pretty sure he might regret it.
We saw at the snooker as well. Ronnie O'Sullivan's interview after winning on Sunday about his opponent Ali Carter. I mean, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but it's all up on YouTube, etc. But he's just won it, and he's won everything. He's probably regarded as one of the best players to have ever played the game. It's probably a bit more justified to come out and say something like that. When you're starting out as a manager or as a player even, that's quite a tough thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think with Ronnie's comments, I think everyone's, 80-90% of the public are loving it, because snooker's quite I wouldn't say it's not a straightforward game, in terms of you don't never really see anyone arguing or anything like that. So, but that was off a win as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That wasn't off a defeat and Ali Carter's beat him. That was off a win. So I have watched the Ronnie documentary. Have you watched it?
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It shows a different side to him, but it's a side that probably snooker doesn't want, but the fans want, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I made sure I watched until after the final. I wanted to see what was going to happen.
Yeah, because there's a video going around as well of him shoulder barging him a few games. It might have been a couple of years ago, maybe. It wasn't in that night, but so they have previous. Yeah.
All right, back to the football. Lucas says, "What is your favourite kit this season?"
We just had this conversation, didn't we?
Did you?
The green and white one for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
I really enjoy it. We haven't wore it as much as I'd like, but yeah, my favourite kit is it the third kit?
That's the second kit.
So that's the away kit. Yeah, that's
the red one, which is in the shop now, I believe.
Yeah, someone modelled that. It was quite nice, wasn't it, when someone was modelling it on the sofa?
Despite that, we've sold some, I think. Talk the Chairboys. Out of all your teammates, who have you learnt the most from this season?
Not many to choose from. Do you know what? This is going to sound... It's such a sit-on-the-fence comment, but quite a few players, just learnt a lot from, obviously, Vokesy, Keezy, JJ, just boys that have played a lot of games and how they handle themselves. And I'd like to think that I'm one of the most... one of the experienced players in the group, but there's boys there that have played 600-700 games at a higher level, and no matter what, you'll always keep learning, and, probably a few of the lads, yeah.
Jamie Kettlewell says, how good is it to get Vokesy back on the pitch again?
Yeah, it's brilliant. He's such a massive player for us. And I know he's a striker and he's there to score goals, but it's just his hold-up play, the way he brings in, for this instance, the team at the minute, he's bringing Sads into the game, Dale Taylor, G-Mac and Will. So he's a massive part of this football club and will be in the future. And it's just great for him to be on the pitch. There was a few weeks when I was out with my brain injury and he was out with his hamstring injury. We spent a few weeks together, and I've seen how hard he's got back to how he's performing now. So it's a credit to him, and long may it continue. Weirdly enough, I said to Dale Taylor, and today he was like, "I'm going to catch you for top goal scorer." He's like, "I've got a feeling." This was Dale talking. He's like, "I got a feeling me and Vokes are going to catch you." I was like,
"You could have done it with Dale."
Yeah, I could have. I was like, "I hope you do." It means we're doing well.
The Peter Crouch podcast has tried to get Vogue by Madonna as Vokes' chant. I don't think the Terrace has quite got it in him to get it. It's quite a difficult song,
quite
I think, to
difficult
learn.
get
But
going.
he's going to have to score at least 20, I think, for them to get their head around it, I think.
Well, can he not score and we play it on the... Can Cess not play it on the...
I don't know.
The speakers?
I think that's quite a touchy subject, celebration music over the speakers. Some fans will be a bit upset by that.
Oh, maybe, okay.
I don't know. But I've got to deal with Vokesy that every time he scores, I have to find a picture of Madonna looking like Sam Vokes and making a little montage, which I'm happy to do because obviously it means he scored. So, yeah, there we are. There's a really nice one of his belly button with his shirt being...
Seen that?
Yeah,
you could have had a few of them the last couple of weeks, honestly. His shirt's been ripped a couple of times since
that
he's
must
been
be
back fit.
so frustrating. As a defender, you're obviously doing the pulling of the shirts, but as a striker...
Yeah, not as much. Like, honestly, there's some times when I see the ball played up to him and, you know, you see half his chest and it's like, how wasn't the referee not seeing that? But that's the thing with Vokes. Like, he'll attract 2-3 defenders, which gives licence to Dale, Sads and GMAC to go do their work.
David Alderman, this is a really good question. When you travel the night before away games, for those longer away games, what do you do? What do you all do as players to pass the time at the hotel? Do you all get together, or do you all go and do your own thing?
What am I doing? Yeah, so on the coach we have, you know, there's about 6 or 7 of us that play cards and a game called Nominations, which is really good, and it's a real good laugh. And then, you know, there's a few of the boys that play Uno. So it is for them long journeys, you know, we do have a good laugh, and then by the time we get to the hotels, you know, we have meetings and dinners, and then, you know, sort of, you know, you're getting ready to go back to your rooms. So, but yeah, away trips we do have a really good laugh, and everyone's together. So I think that's the main thing. Yeah.
So it's sort of get there once you get through all the traffic on a Friday, etc. Meetings, meal, and then presumably an early night.
Yeah, because like we'll train in the morning, and then, you know, we'll travel up, and it gets to like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I think, you know, most of the boys are quite tired, so you know, everyone just gets off to their rooms, and you know, there's usually a Friday night game on, so watch a bit of the football. But we do have a good laugh, so we have like a halfway stop as well, you know, just to let the driver have half an hour, and whoever's losing at cards has to get the coffees in. So so it does get feisty.
And what about the morning of the game when you're at the hotel? Is there sort of, do you all go for a walk or something? Or?
Yeah, we also go for breakfast, and then, you know, we'll go back and, you know, have showers and that, and then, you know, we'll go for a 5-10 minute walk and have another meeting, and then our pre-match, and then it's, you know, by the time you know it, it's like 1 o'clock, and you're ready to head off to the stadium.
Is that a hard part? Is so much time away sometimes, especially with a Northern Division like it can be?
Yeah, I think like for this instance now we've got Port Vale Saturday, and then we'll come back down, and then we'll travel back up Monday to play Wigan on Tuesday. But yeah, it's part and parcel. We know, you know, in August them journeys are coming. So, but it is good because we get to spend sort of time away from the training ground and on the training pitch, where we can, you know, just be ourselves and just, you know, be in each other's company a different way.
There we are. Ask Luke then. Some great questions. Thank you very much. We might be able to squeeze a few more in at the top of the show, but coming up after these ads, we've got Till Death Us Do Part with Wycombe Wanderers fan Chris Spratt.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at the message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Join us at the Wycombe Arts Centre on the 24th of February for a big charity concert organised by Wycombe Sound's Mark Hobbs. A local band under construction will perform a wide range of songs from the 60s to today, but played their way, featuring Wycombe Sound's Dave Weston on the drums with support from local 15-year-old singer Darius. And best of all, this show is raising money for Global's Make Some Noise, which improves lives by working with small charities across the UK. There'll also be a bar raffle and fun, so what's not to love? Tickets start from just £5 and are available now at ticketsource.co.uk/Make Some Noise.
Thursday evenings from 7.
The Wycombe Wanderers show is now in its 4th season, and as you'd expect, we'll continue to bring you match analysis and highlights from Phil.
You might enjoy this, Jack. Rona Grimmer's been, yes, come on you Blues. Love hearing Jack's commentary while his wife, father-in-law and his mum move house for him. Jack.
Getting absolutely thrown under the bus.
We'll regularly hear from manager Matt Bloomfield.
Of course, there's technical and tactical stuff that we've been working on that we would like to see, but in terms of what I want to see and have to see, it's all about the hard work, togetherness and team spirit, and everything else comes off the back of that.
As well as members of the current team.
You know, we have discussions about how we're going to do it better, and I think the only way you can do that is by keep practicing, keep learning, and hopefully then we'll get better and better with it.
And ex-players.
Everyone says as fast as I probably run, and they're probably right. Yeah, that's just a emotion-fueled moment there, really. Just, it was great because my dad is one of those people that gave me a lot of stick about not scoring as well, so I just wanted to see him and rub it in.
We'll bring you news from in and around the club, continue to follow Wycombe Wanderers women, and some things you wouldn't expect.
Too much? Too much or not enough?
Tell the orchestra they can go now. And don't forget you can catch up with the show via the podcast.
The Wycombe Wanderers show, only on Wycombe Sound. This is Wycombe Sound.
It's that time of the show, Till Death Us Do Part. It's where we speak to Wycombe Wanderers fans about their love of the Chairboys, because choosing your football club is like a marriage. It's for life. You go through the good and the bad times together. And hopefully we're going to talk about some good times now with Wycombe Wanderers fan Chris Spratt. Chris, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Phil. Yourself?
Very good indeed. Looking forward to your memories, because I think we're about the same age, so I think we might...
We are, so I think they might be quite similar.
Yeah, and without revealing your social media handles, John Granville is mentioned. He was one of the first goalkeepers that I remember, along with Gary Lester. So, I think is it John Granville and his very long throw? This is Peter Schmeichel for everybody.
Words to that effect, yeah. It was the one thing, I think, from my early days, like watching the club, there were two things in particular that really stand out. It was Nicky Evans' flaming blonde hair. And John Granville having this ability to throw the ball, which, you know, for the impressionable 8-year-old that I was at the time, seemed to be 2/3 of a pitch. You know, reality probably wasn't quite as long as that. But, you know, my memory's like maybe telling a few lies, but I seem to remember him not being able to kick the ball very far, but being able to throw at absolute miles.
He could definitely get it over the halfway line, couldn't he? Definitely.
Yeah. It was just, it was a sight to behold. So for someone just falling in love with the game at that time, to see him at one end and then Nicky Evans and John Kerr were the other players who really stood out for me, you know, was something, you know, was a sight to behold.
And this was before Peter Schmeichel made throwing the ball a really long way quite fashionable.
Exactly. A few years before that. I'd like to think that Peter Schmeichel actually learnt that from John Granville, but I don't think he probably was a regular down at Lokes Park in those days. So you never know.
You never know. Well, if I ever track Peter Schmeichel down, that would be the first thing I ask him. So where did this all start? Where did the love affair with Wycombe Wanderers start for you, Chris?
Okay, so I've had to use the internet to remember and to remind me a few things, to be honest, because, you know, again, the memory's a little bit hazy. But I believe it was 1988, October. It was an FA Cup fourth qualifying round against Kettering. I remember the opposition. I can remember standing on the side of a pitch opposite what was the main stand. Again, I can remember Nicky Evans and I can remember us losing 2-1. My dad had taken me there. I remember I played, I think, my first match that morning for my local side. I was a goalkeeper. It didn't go particularly well. So my dad's idea was to try and cheer me up by taking me to Wycombe in the afternoon, and he failed miserably. So
a double day of defeat. But
exactly. Luckily, the one in the afternoon was a heck of a lot better than the one in the morning.
So despite that, you're a Wycombe Wanderers fan. So let's move on to something old. Your favourite ever Wycombe Wanderers memory.
Okay. So I think before I get onto my memory, I must say I've been looking forward to doing this for some time. I, like many fans, listen intently to the podcast, and this probably is my favourite feature. And it's great to go down memory lane and to hear everything. However, with that comes a slight tinge of trepidation, hoping that too many of the memories that I would have picked get talked about a great deal. So I would have picked, if it was a particular era or a particular time, the FA Cup run 2001 really stands out for me. But I've heard that mentioned quite a lot. So I picked something a little bit different. And I've gone for the first time we played in the London Fives in 1994. I remember it well. My dad had taken me to it as well. I can remember being laughed at by my friends that afternoon when I dared tell them that was how I was spending my evening as well. It was the first time we'd actually entered the competition. And we went there, and I've got to say, it was just an absolute unbelievable evening. We ended up getting to the final. We played Wimbledon, managed by Vinnie Jones. Took it to a penalty shootout, 0-0. There were quite a few 0-0s that day. And Chuck Masardic, later Chuck Martini, was our hero, player of the tournament, to save a penalty. And I believe it was Jason Cousins who then slotted away the winning one for us to win the trophy. So, yeah, that was my memory.
All your school friends, they're not laughing now, are they? Let's be honest.
Oh, they are definitely not. And they were definitely not laughing the next day either as well, when I could go in powder punch with a programme or with a ticket and to talk about it. It was an amazing evening. I was watching earlier clips of it on YouTube, and it's a 3-hour programme. You know, it's one of those things. They don't make football events on TV like that, and they really should, because Tony Adams was playing, Nigel Winterburn playing, like the Premier League creme de la creme of the time, and we were competing against them in this tournament, and it was just a proper good evening of entertainment. It was great.
I just don't think it would happen these days, would it, where teams would put in their best players. And Wycombe put their first team in, and they did again the following year, the week before the playoff final, but with the first team players. That's how seriously it was taken, which is, I think, football should learn a harsh lesson from all of this and say, whatever the competition, put your best players in and try and win it.
I know, like, it's just mad. I mean, I was looking at the side, and there was, like, Jason Cousins was at the back. We had, like, Dave Carroll on the side as well. I mean, it was a few days before, I believe, the Carlisle game in the semi-final. I'm thinking, who would do that now? Play like a five-a-side tournament, a couple of days before, like, the biggest match of your season. And it wasn't just us. Like, Arsenal had played the Cup Winners' Cup final, like, around the same time as well. And it was Nigel Winterburn, Tony Adams were in their side as well. Oh, it was fantastic.
And you mentioned him, Chuck, as he was then, Chuck Masadic.
Yeah.
A cult hero. I think he only played maybe once in the league for Wycombe Wanderers, but has gone down in folklore ever since, purely because of the Evening Standard five-a-side.
Exactly. He was fantastic. I can remember a few weeks later, the excitement at Beaconsfield roundabout, driving off down there and seeing him in the car behind, and me and my friend waving like desperately at him. Memories of this evening in particular, like, fresh in our mind. He was a cult hero. That evening, he was brilliant. And I think one of the things that stand out for me is it was quite an odd evening, like at Wembley Arena, where they didn't have all of the fans from each side like together. Like, they had you in little pockets all around. And it's really noticeable, like, by the end, when we get into the quarterfinal, semi-final stage, how all the fans of the other teams are staying. And it's just Wycombe songs that you can hear. And, like, everybody joining in. They really becoming, like, everybody's second team, like, of the evening as well. It was fantastic.
Well, it certainly was. That period of the 90s where no matter where Wycombe were within Wembley, be it the stadium or arena, they would always win. And fantastic time. Well,
I think that's the thing with it, really, is it's not necessarily just that evening. It's the fact that it symbolises, like, a period of time where actually you go into every match thinking we're just going to win. Being the age that we would have both been then, seeing Wycombe lose and seeing Wycombe lose at Wembley was something unthinkable. And that was really just, even against the Arsenals and the Chelseas and the Tottenhams, we would still come out on top.
There we are. Fantastic times. A brilliant entry into the Till Death Us Do Part gallery, I believe we're going to call it. I think we will call it a gallery. Right, on to something new. Your favourite player in the current squad?
Now, this was the hardest one I found to pick, because there's a lot of players who I like a great deal at the moment. Josh Scowen, obviously David Wheeler, Gareth McCleary. And there isn't really one at the moment that particularly stands out. If I could go slightly rogue, the the player of most recent years who I really, really liked and it's meant a great deal to me has been Darius Charles. And I think it was just his whole story and what he represented. And just the lessons that you could learn from him, and then those lessons that you could share with others as well. I think he really was a great symbol of a club of recent years about what makes this club special. I think he's just a remarkable footballer, and it just comes across as a remarkable human as well. So if I'm allowed, he would be my pick.
I'm going to let you have it on the technicality that he didn't play for anyone else after us. So
thank you.
And also, again, the story was just phenomenal, and the amount of commitment required from him too. I remember. Do you remember when he played for Stevenage against Wycombe?
Yeah.
And he scored, didn't he? Wiped out Matt Ingram, and I saw a picture of Darius Charles that on that day, and his body shape completely different. He was sort of all muscle and he was big, wasn't he? He's a solid unit.
Yeah.
And then because of his injury to his hip, he had to completely change his body type and everything. And the commitment, not just to training, but the diet and everything around everything he did, I just thought was absolutely astounding. And what a player as well. And what a waste it would have been had he had to retire.
It was all those reasons that you mentioned, really, that I think makes him stand out, both as a player, but also as a person, as a human as well. I thought he was remarkable.
We all love footballers who can play, obviously, but then there's always those little moments. And the post-match interview with Sunderland, it lives on to this day, doesn't it? Yeah. Another reason why he should definitely be classed as a current player, because our house is heard across Adams Park on a regular basis because of that interview.
And that's because of him.
And what a speech! Was it a speech or whatever it was? It was just spot on, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, amazing. So he would be my pick.
It's an excellent entry in there, and I'll be eating a mango immediately after this recording in Darius's honour. So on to something borrowed. Now, this is either your favourite ever loanee that Wycombe Wanderers have had, or the player you wish that we'd have signed that we never did.
Okay, so again, had I recorded this a couple of weeks ago, Sam Parkin would have been my pick, because most of my memories would have been 2001, and he, I think, was fantastic at that time for us, and he was a player, like I heard last week somebody else mention, who I would have loved us to sign as well. However, because he's been mentioned, I'm going to go a little bit off kilter again and pick somebody we didn't actually sign, and I would have liked us to sign him, not necessarily because of his football ability, although he was very, very, very talented, but that would be David Wheater, the centre-back who played for Middlesbrough. And my reason for this, it was a similar kind of time to I forget, we signed like mid 2000s. He went out on loan to a few clubs as well when we signed Stephen Taylor. Similar kind of a player, and so somebody I think we might have been able to get. However, it's nothing to do with his football ability, but his deep love I've found out about for WWE. I believe that he, in his house, has a room just dedicated to WWE, where he has all the old wrestlers from the times that I can remember too well as a child as well. And he uses them in a ring that he's created, and he plays with them many hours of an evening as well. So it's a very strange reason, I must acknowledge. But as somebody who shares a love for 1980s and 1990s WWE, or WWF as it was at the time, he would have been a great signing. So we could have talked about Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, and the like as well. And I just like the idea of a footballer having an interest that is very, very different to the norm.
That's fantastic. I love that. So David Wheater, I had no idea about this, so you learned something on this. This podcast is educational as well as entertaining, hopefully. That's brilliant. I had no idea. He later went to play for Stoke, where he could combine his love of wrestling with football.
Yeah, I heard an interview with him when he called up to the England team. So, and I have visions of him on the sunbeds here with David Beckham on one side, and he's taking his wrestlers on international duty with them to play with the wrestlers. I just think it's fantastic.
You must have loved it then when, was it the People's Elbow, the Akinfenwa celebration on Luke?
Yeah, indeed.
You must have been in heaven when that happened.
Oh, I was. It was taking me back right to my youth, Phil.
Well, I love this. This is a different entry and an unusual entry, and different and unusual should always be celebrated.
Thank you.
Good work, Chris. Right, we're on to something blue, a piece of merchandise. Now, either your favourite ever piece of merchandise or an idea for a piece of merchandise that should be in the club shop that isn't at the moment.
Okay, so my favourite piece that we ever did, I remember about 15 years ago, we had a retro leather football, from 60, 70 years ago, or even longer, I would imagine. So I would have always liked us to return to that, which would be great. However, this is the one thing where I can talk about the greatest period or months without anybody else mentioning it as well. So what I think we should bring in is a Wycombe Wanderers snow shovel. And the reason for the Wycombe Wanderers snow shovel is, you might remember, Phil, in that FA Cup run, we played Wolverhampton Wanderers in the fourth round, the home tie. I was living in Crewe at the time, and I travelled down the day before, and it was extreme wintry conditions. And my disappointment waking up in the morning to see a blanket of snow across the whole of the town. And I felt that my efforts that day, where I tried to dye my hair blue, would have gone in vain. Only to have heard it, I can imagine it would have only been on local radio, for appeals for people to go down to the ground in that morning and clear snow off the pitch. So myself and my friend Sausage, we went down to the ground. We managed to get his mum to take us down there that morning. And we were given snow shovels, which we did indeed clear snow off the pitch. And later that day, Andy Rammell scored a wonderful goal to dive into the snow that we cleared off.
It's an iconic photograph. Andy Rammell in the snow. And to know now that you piled that snow lovingly behind the goal for him to jump into, just makes that.
And the snow shovels just fit perfectly with that as an iconic memory. And look, this time of year, and who knows what's going to happen in the next weeks or so, would come in very, very handy.
So it'd be a shovel with perhaps the Wycombe Wanderers logo in the sort of the tray shovel area.
It could be. You could perhaps go retro and have that very picture you talked about on there instead as well.
I was thinking on one side the crest, and then on the back of the scoop, maybe like your favourite player and number, or it should just really be number 9 Rammell on the back, and it could be the Rammell shovel. Yeah,
there you go. I mean, that's perfect.
It's a great idea, Chris. Again, it goes onto the long list of excellent ideas that have been suggested here. The Andy Rammell Wycombe Wanderers snow shovel.
There you go.
Yeah, and in Wycombe Wanderers, we know, and High Wycombe in general, it can suffer with localised weather and snow. It's very hilly. No house in the area of High Wycombe should be without one of these shovels.
Quite right.
Well, I think that is an excellent and also seasonal item as well. I think hopefully next winter we can get these in production and get the big man himself to come and make a very pretty pile of snow. And I think you should maybe then jump into that snow to launch it.
Most definitely. I would lovingly and gratefully be the first to dive headfirst, perhaps doing a people's elbow into the snow. There you go.
Now we got Akinfenwa, Andy Rammell, and you, Chris, a pile of snow behind the goal in front of the Valley Terrace. It's just perfect. Right, okay, next winter, let's make this happen. I'm all over this. Chris, it's been a real pleasure. Some great memories that you've brought back up for us for all to smile about. The five-a-sides as well. Never, ever gets old. They need to bring it back. We need to defend our trophy. We're still the reigning champions.
Can you imagine us in a final against Chelsea or against Arsenal or against Spurs there? It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
There we go. And Chris Spratt, our subject Until Death Us Do Part. We're overrunning slightly. We've got one last question, which is again from Dan saying, Luke, how's the noggin now? Notice that the headband is off. So hopefully all okay now, all good?
Yeah, the headband, I don't wear it anymore because we played, I think, Exeter, and I had it on and it lashed it down for 2-3 minutes. And the headband absorbed all the water. And there was a bit when I'm running in, not on goal, but I'm running to chase the ball down. And the headband just comes up and comes below my eyes because it was that heavy. So yeah, I've not worn it since, and I've had no issues. So touch wood.
I thought you were going to turn up with it tonight just to do that.
Around my eyes.
Yeah.
No, that's why. Yeah.
Luke, thank you so much for popping by.
Thank you.
We've got Tuesday night games for the next 2 weeks. So we're back here in 3 weeks' time. So we could do Ask Luke again, right?
Yeah.
There's loads of questions we didn't get through today. We'll add them onto the list for next time. Stick around on Wycombe Sound, because some guy called Gareth Ainsworth is talking to Colin about his new album on Chatsworth. That's coming up after this, with a whole load more as well. But we'll leave you with Dusty Springfield, and we'll speak to you all again on Saturday for the trip to Port Vale. Have a good week.